This is the part I didn't read to you. They both say, quote, the whole assembly together was 42,360 beside their male and female servants. They say that. I'll read in Nehemiah chapter 7. He says the same thing. The whole assembly together was 42,360 beside their male and female servants. Says the same thing. But yet, so they got that number right. They got that number the same, but and also they got the of whom were 7,337. They matched there as well. So they're once again talking about the same thing. But when it comes to the singers, sure. All right. Ezra chapter 2, verses 64 and 65. Nehemiah chapter 7, verses 66 and 67. They got 42,360. They both have that. 7,337. They both have that. Male and female singers, 200, and then the other is 245. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so we're not going to deal with context now, right? Listen.
Oh, yeah, I'm waiting for you to give the context. The floor is yours.
No, listen. This is the argument you brought up because you're running for Matthew and Luke, son. That's what's going on.
No, I'm not running. No, excuse me. Let me clarify. No, excuse me. I'm not running from Matthew and Luke. I'm using your standard. Excuse me. I'm not running from Matthew and Luke. I'm using your standard and showing you that if you are totally okay with the conclusion that you come with about Jesus, then you have to be okay with Ezra and Nehemiah as well about these singers. And if you say that, well, I don't believe that Jesus existed because of what I see here in Matthew and Luke, then your own standard looks at Ezra and Nehemiah and says, well, they got 42,000 right. They got 7,000 right. But the 240 and 245, they both got wrong. So I guess Nehemiah and Ezra are no different than Matthew and Luke. And I guess like Jesus never existed, neither did those male and female singers either, because the numbers are different. Just like Jesus's birthday is different. I'm showing you that that's what your standard does, but you would never agree with that. You would say, you know what, Ezra and Nehemiah may have some differences, but those male and female singers existed. And you would find a way, excuse me, I'm almost finished. And you would find a way to justify that. The floor is yours.
Well, here's the thing. Hezekiah doesn't hold the text as infallible. He does not hold the Bible as infallible. As like you do, ssoreal, other Christians, sloppy agape Christians may hold it.
Okay, but that still does not negate his standard. No matter what he believes about the Bible, if his standard says, hey, these two people are saying something different, therefore I say that they don't exist. Well, guess what? Now we could go right in the Old Testament and just say, oh, you know what? Looks like one guy saying one thing, one guy saying another thing. Within the same two verses, they're acknowledging two other numbers that are the same. But the third set, they're different. So therefore, I guess these male and female singers didn't exist either. He would never accept that. But I'm showing you once again that these kind of arguments are things that people never even did in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th century until you get to the 15th and 16th century. And all of a sudden you got all these people starting to look at all this stuff ever made a fuss about or a conclusion about. And 1,500, 1,600 years later, we're going to say, oh, I guess he didn't exist. And you borrow from these people who existed about 500 years before you were born, and you tout their same kind of, standards that actually undercut your own.
Okay, listen.
That's an issue.
Okay, listen. It's not an issue. You're just unlearned. It's not an issue. We'll deal with it. Now, once again, this is the difference. Nehemiah and Ezra saying that, let's say there is a discrepancy in 45 people, singers, right? The discrepancy is that if you're saying, we're trying to, and as Lewis just so eloquently told you, and I'll deal with this. Me and Lewis talked about this same exact topic multiple times. Matter of fact, not even just this week, just past. So now, once again, what you're trying to establish is that if one says 200 people singing, one says 245 people singing, that's the same as the Savior of Israel having 2 birthdays separated by 12 years. We're talking about singers versus a man that's supposed to die for my sins who's going to save me, who's the anointed Savior and the Son of God. Do you not even see that those are not even comparable?
We're talking about your standards, sir. We're not talking about the people.
Let's look at the standard.
Yeah,
now, let's go to Ezra. Let's go to Ezra.
I would definitely, excuse me, time out. I would definitely agree with you about, if we're talking about Jesus compared to, excuse me. I would definitely agree with you that when I compare Jesus, excuse me.
You can keep saying it all day long.
Excuse me. I would definitely agree with you. I would definitely, excuse me. I'm trying to make a point here. Excuse me. I would definitely agree with you that when you compare.
When you talk, I was quiet. Now it's my turn.
Excuse me. I would definitely agree with you that when it comes to Jesus, excuse me. I would definitely, excuse me. I just have to say this one thing. I have to say one thing, and after that, I'll shut up. I would definitely agree with you that when it comes to Jesus being compared to 245 or 200 singers, I would say that, yeah, Jesus is a way bigger deal. No one's going to disagree with you on that. You get a thumbs up. But that's not our focus. Our focus is, what are we saying about the reasons why someone exists or not? That's our focus, not whether Jesus is more important than 245 singers. The floor is yours.
Now, that's what I'm saying. What you're doing is it's called buck dancing. Don't interrupt me again.
No, not buck dancing. I'm keeping you in check.
Listen, could you mute him, Lewis? Can you mute him? Because like I said, he's buck dancing. If you don't know about the topic is Jesus the Savior of Israel? That's the topic. That is literally the topic. We're discussing Jesus.
Now you're buck dancing.
Oh, so bro, let him finish.
Bro, look. From the beginning.
Your standard was literally shot down. And now you're running from your own standard.
Because you didn't even read the verse. This is what you did. When I went
through running from your own standard, sir.
Okay, listen. Can you please be quiet, Christian? I know you have no decorum. Christian, can you please be quiet? Okay, you said.
Well, you've been getting hostile through this whole thing. What's your point?
That's fine. But if I'm talking, Meryl, you already admitted, Meryl.
And you've had most of the time on the mic anyway. What are you complaining about?
Meryl, because I brought the argument. You acknowledged you didn't know about the argument. What could you talk about? I mean, come on, let's keep it real.
Lewis also said he wanted to question me about other things, too. Now, when that's going to happen and if, I don't know. But I made it clear to Lewis on the phone that I didn't have my material on hand. And you've had most of the time, which is fine. I'm not going to sit here and cry about that, but you've been getting all angry and hostile about it, going on and on. I mean, you're not going to convince either one of us.
That's fine.
That Yeshua never existed as a man, therefore the apostles never existed. There are too many in the history books.
Okay, listen, and that's debatable. This is just the first, I told you, this is the first opening salvo.
Mm-hmm.
So now, once again, I've made that crystal clear. This is the first opening salvo. This is not all the artillery. We can't even get past this. You admitted, Meryl, that you don't have the documentation to rebut this. Okay, that's fine. So you can't speak on it. He just admitted he hadn't studied it. He can't speak on it either. Now you.
But I cut your standard. I dealt with you with your problem.
I looked at enough history in the past to know that you.
I dealt with your issue.
No, you did not. I went through Matthew and Luke. I read the verses from top to bottom, the chapters. What you just did was, 42,620. Oh, it says 7,000 here. Then you skipping verses. And I told you it didn't come out of the
I dealt with your conclusion. Your conclusion was Jesus didn't exist. I asked you why, and you said it was because of 2 different birth dates or 2 different dates. So I dealt with your standard. And then after that, you ran.
Meryl stated, and I told Meryl not even 30 minutes ago, I told you the same thing. This is the opening salvo. Now, let me talk in normal terms.
Well, opening salvo.
Opening salvo is a.
I even told both of you that I don't have the material on hand. So, do I need to come back later, or because I don't know how long it's going to go on? I mean, I can probably bring up.
Yeah, and I got to get ready to go in a bit.
I know. Like I said, when I use the phrase opening salvo, in military, that's the first launching of an assault. That is not the entire assault.
I'm an ex-ranger. I know all about it. I don't need to hear about that.
So listen. So, Meryl, I'm going to ask you a question, Meryl, and I want you to be honest. Have I not said that on multiple occasions? This is only the opening salvo?
Yeah, you said that.
Okay, so now he keeps saying that I say Jesus don't exist only because of the 2 birthdays. I've said crystal clear, this is just the opening salvo. I have more damaging things than that. So
in other words, this is just one of your reasons. So you're not denying that this is your reason. You're saying that this is one of your reasons.
This is one. Yes.
So, right. Which I've just disproven. So
listen, if you don't even know anything about what we're talking about, you might as well just log off at this point.
Actually, I just disproved your point.
Actually.
Yeah.
You didn't. You didn't. Let's go to Ezra. Watch this. Let's go to Ezra again.
All right, let's go to Ezra, chapter 2, verse 64 and 65. Go ahead.
No.
I'll do you guys the favor of signing off, and then maybe if Lewis wants to get a hold of me later to give me those other questions about why I am a polygamist at heart and all that, I can do that later. Is that what you want, Rabbi Lewis?
Yeah, I might as well
hold on. Can I say something? I think it's obvious that we're gonna have to do a part 2 to this. That's what's gonna have to happen. And if Meryl's free, we'll do a part 2 to this because we have a lot to talk about, obviously.
Okay, do you want to?
Part 2?
Okay.
Hold on. Let's do the part 2 when everybody have their copious notes.
Right. I mean, Ssoreal and Meryl said they don't know anything about the topic.
I know.
No, I know, but I've studied enough history to where I'm not worried about whether Yeshua existed or not.
And my final words was, like I said, I just dealt with the very simple question of why he believed Jesus doesn't exist. He gave me one of his. Right. He gave me one of it. Hold on. He gave me. Let's do a recap. He gave me one of his many artillery, just one, and I looked at that standard and I said, oh, so this is the reason why he doesn't believe Jesus existed. So I found the same problem in the Old Testament. Now he says there's an issue. I just dealt with the root core reason of why he's saying Jesus didn't exist.
Well, he also
and I showed a problem with that standard. That's what I did.
Didn't Jesus
Hezekiah made a good point to me once, or like a couple of days ago on the phone when we talked.
What do you say? I can't hear.
Well, Hezekiah did make a good point to me when I talked about the inconsistencies, and he, like for example, Jehoiakim, was he 18 or 8? And then we went over the other king who was 22 or 42. No, he made some good points about that. I understand that. But now that I think about it in the Old Testament, go back to King David. And I don't remember where the verses are, but in one area he has so many horses and chariots, whereas in another verse he has so many more. And that you really can't get around. Something is wrong in that part of the Tanakh as well. I mean, English language, as great as it is, sucks.
Right.
How many millions of transcripts that have been written from Jews, from monks, and whatever, from language to language to language. A lot has been lost. Some is, you know what I'm saying? So,
and not only that, even in Noah, he sent out a dove, but a sparrow came back. So
yeah,
right. I mean, a raven or something like that.
Well, no, he sent out both. He sent out both. But if you
want to, Meryl. Thank you, Meryl. He sent out both. Thank you, Meryl.
I do know the Tanakh for the core well enough. But the only other inconsistency, and it doesn't matter what English translation, and I know it's getting off the topic, when you go back to Bereshith or Genesis chapter 19, verse 24. Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. There's a problem there too. I don't care what English translation it is. But my only point is the substance is there. It can be proven medically, it can be proven historically, it can be proven geographically, and so on. Old and new.
Just like Jesus.
Brit, that's what I'm saying. Tanakh and Brit Hadashah. So I just, since I don't have my material, again, Rabbi Lewis, do you want me to come on later?
Well, we're going to be closing out the next 20 to 30 minutes. I think it's painfully obvious that we're going to have to do a part 2 to this. So Ssoreal and Brother Merrill are willing to come back for part 2. We